Hey YouTube, so as you probably guessed from the title of this video, I am 5 weeks pregnant today. We're very excited. Before I talk about that, I'm going to talk about everything that happened and why I haven't made videos in about a year. Hopefully I can get all that done in about 1 minute so that it doesn't take up a whole lot of time, because obviously I want to get to the part about me being pregnant. So, if you watch my vlog, most of my vlogs, you know that March was my last one. In April, my grandmother, which if you watch my other ones, you know that she had a stroke last November. So in April, my grandmother started doing a lot worse, and I started spending a lot more time with her. Then in May, I graduated college, and about a week and a half after I graduated college, my grandmother went home on hospice. So, obviously that was really hard, and I started spending a whole lot of time at her house. In June, my friend got married, and she's a really good friend. I was in her wedding, and it was like a 2.5 month engagement, so everything had to be done really quickly, and she needed a lot of help. So I was spending some time with her, kind of splitting my time between her and my grandmother. Then in August, my grandmother passed away, kind of around the third week in August. She did pass away. We think she died from another stroke because it just happened very quickly. 1 second she was talking, the next second, literally the next second, she was gone. So, obviously that was really hard for me, and I just didn't feel like doing anything after that for a while. If you watch my other vlogs, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but me and my mom don't really have a relationship. Me and my grandmother were always really close. My mom tried to put us up for adoption, me and my twin brother, when we were babies, and this grandmother actually took us in, and we lived with her for several years. And then when my mom took us back, we lived next door to her for a really long time. My grandmother, we lived next door to my grandmother for most of my life. So I've always been around her. Everything I can remember, she's always the one that's been there for me and done stuff for me since I was little. So it was really hard, but we knew it was coming. So in September, I threw a baby shower for my brother's girlfriend, and that took a lot of time and effort between invitations and everything that comes with that. But in October, I started a new teaching position. It was a 3-month maternity leave that I was filling in, and that made me so ridiculously busy. The parish that I was working in had just started changing everything that they were doing in their school systems. So basically anything the teacher had, which she didn't really give me a lot to work with, but everything she had before was kind of useless because the parish didn't want us doing that anymore. So it was like starting from scratch, and it was a lot of work. It was very stressful, and I barely had time to breathe. In November, we bought a house, which anyone who's bought a house knows, oh my gosh, it's ridiculous. A lot of paperwork, took up a ridiculous amount of time. I also broke my leg in November, and my brother has a baby in November. November was a very busy month, including Thanksgiving. Then obviously December, between Thanksgiving and Christmas, is just filled with stuff to do with family and the holidays and all that. So we were extremely busy with that. Luckily, December 22nd was the last day of my job. It also happened to be the day that I ovulated, and I didn't know that I was ovulating that day, but I was extremely happy to be leaving that job. It's just causing so much stress that I was just ready to be done with it. So me and my husband, we're celebrating that night, and lucky for us that we did, because pretty sure that was the night that we conceived. So December 22nd, we conceived. About 7 days after that, I have what I thought was my period coming early. I had a little bit of spotting. I think it was a implantation bleeding. Like looking back on it, I'm pretty sure that's what it was. At the time, I thought, crap, obviously it didn't work this month. I'm starting my period early, but then it just went away. It was only for 1 day, and then it was gone, and it was just a little tiny bit. Then I started feeling really weird. I started just getting tired. That was just kind of the first like really symptom that I had. I started getting tired and crampy, and I just felt off. Like part of me just kind of knew. I'd never like had this feeling before. Just something felt different. So I decided to test, which I hadn't tested in months. usually I just wait for my period to show. And I've said, because I used to be like a crazy peel stick addict, and I was testing like 7 DPO till I started my period. So I made myself quit that because it gets expensive and it drives you crazy. So I waited, and I guess I was like 11 DPO or 12 DPO, something like that, because I should have started my period like the next day. And usually I would have waited until either the day my period was supposed to start or the day after that. But I always start spotting a little bit right the day before my period, and that didn't happen, but I was feeling really crampy, so I thought for sure there's no way this is going to be positive. So it was January 3rd was the day that I was doing this, and I've read about how ovulation strips can detect the pregnancy hormone. So what I've always done, if I really felt the need to test early, I've just taken an ovulation test, and if it looked positive, I said I would take a pregnancy test. And well, my ovulation tests have never been positive at the end of the month, so I went ahead and took it, and when I took it, it was blazing positive. The test line was darker than the control line, and I was like, holy crap. I got really excited, so I didn't dump out my pee, like I put it in a cup. So I took the pregnancy test, and I put it in there, and before I even set it down on the counter, it was positive, and I was like, no way, no way. I thought maybe it just needs to dry, so I set it down, I washed my hands, dried my hands, like the whole time I made a point not to look at it, and I just counted to like 40 or something, some crazy number. I just kind of counted to try to make sure it wasn't like 3 seconds and I was looking back, and when I looked back down, it was like, oh my gosh, it's positive, and I just started crying, like, I couldn't control it. I called my husband. I was like, where are you? You need to come home. Poor thing was worried to death that someone had died. Our dogs got hit by a car or something like that. I felt so bad for him. But I didn't want to tell him on the phone, but I wanted to know where he was, but I couldn't make myself stop crying. I was a ridiculous emotional mess. So when he told me what time he was coming home, and about 10 minutes before he got home, I took a digital pregnancy test, and it came up positive, which I'll put a short little video clip of that in here. And it's like the regular pregnancy test, like you look at it, you're like, okay, 2 lines, it's positive, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant, but you still kind of like doubt it. I don't know, I just thought maybe there's something wrong with the test. But when I took the digital and it came up and like had the word on there, I was just like, I don't know, it's just, I don't know, I can't even explain it. So when he came home, I didn't even tell him anything. He just walked in the door, and I just handed him the test, and he looked at it like, what the crap is this? And he was just staring at it, and then his eyes got really big, and he was like, oh. And I'm like, I just started crying all over again, and we just sat there hugging each other for a while. I'm about to cry just talking about it, but it was, I don't know, it was really exciting. So anyways, I basically found out whenever I was 3 weeks, 6 days. No, I was exactly 4 weeks whenever I found out. My weeks switch over on Tuesdays. So I have today officially known I was pregnant for 1 week. And the symptoms that I have had, the first one I talked about was that I was really tired. I started taking naps in the middle of the day, which is not really something that I do. And then I had those cramps. Then I started feeling nauseous for about 3 days after I found out. I was really nauseous fairly often. That's kind of gone away. It comes and goes now. I find I'm more car sick now, which I've never been before. I get really nauseous when I'm riding in the car. I've been crazy emotional. Crazy emotional. I've been going to physical therapy for my leg, and when I was leaving physical therapy, I went in the bathroom and washed my hands, and the soap in the bathroom at physical therapy was the same soap that was in my grandmother's hospital room. When she was in the hospital, I used to wash her hair for her. My gosh, I'm about to cry. So when I washed my hands and I smelled the soap or whatever, it reminded me of doing that for her. So and it made me start crying at physical therapy. It was ridiculous. So just over the smell of some soap. See, this is an example of how emotional I've been. I've been going to the bathroom a lot. I don't know, that's kind of a combination of it being a symptom, and ever since I found out, I started drinking a lot more water just to kind of help my body deal with the pregnancy and all that, and I need to start drinking more water anyways, and I started feeling a little bit better drinking more water, so And lately I've been having a very bloated and full feeling. Like my husband put his hand on my stomach. He's like, wow, your stomach's really hard. I'm like, I know, it's really starting to feel that way all the time. I'm having a hard time, like when I sit down, when I'm standing up, my jeans are fine. But when I sit down, they get really uncomfortable because I just feel so tight and bloated down there. It's more than I ever have whenever I was just bloated from about to start my period. So that's been a symptom. And yesterday I started getting sore boobs, which is very unfortunate. I don't like it. And then one symptom that's kind of started over the past few days is I'm really hungry in the morning. When I wake up in the mornings, I eat breakfast. About an hour later, I want to eat something again. About an hour later, I want to eat something again. I think it's just going that long stretch at night without eating. My body wants to make up for it. But after that, I'm usually fine. Like from noon until I go to sleep at night, I eat like a normal human being. So anyways, that is everything. If you have any questions about how this happened, I really can't tell you. I didn't expect it to happen. Like I said, we found out on the 3rd we were pregnant. On the 4th, we had an infertility appointment with my OB to start Clomid for the next cycle and all. So it turned into my first pregnancy appointment, and we confirmed the pregnancy on the 4th and scheduled my first ultrasound for February 2nd. So it was really exciting to go in and tell her, hey, I don't need any of this. We just found out we're pregnant. So, yeah, that's what's going on. If you have any questions, just put them below and I'll try to answer them. I'm kind of terrible about replying to comments, but I'm going to try to get a whole lot better at that. So anyways, thanks. Thanks for watching. Bye. Oh my gosh. That's so much better than seeing that. And it's upside down. The camera's not working right.